Liu Xiaobo was sent to prison, which is freedom of expression in China.
The Tiananmen Square protest that Liu Xiaobo was talking about happened on June 4, 1989, sometimes called the Tiananmen Square massacre due to the way the Chinese government suppressed the protest with military force. These protests by citizens, primarily university students, called for freedom of the press and freedom of speech. This is also known as freedom of expression, which is the right of an individual or individuals to express their own ideas and opinions without fear of retaliation or censorship by the government.
In modern times, freedom of expression applies to speech, but also to what you write online. Through the internet and social networking sites like Facebook and Twitter, ideas can be shared immediately. As seen around the world, this can be used in things like political campaigns. However, in China, the internet is controlled by the government. The ability to access many ideas can be a threat to the Chinese government.
There are some ways the government can control the internet. For example, they are deleting every word that as Chinese government doesn't approve. And another, they are censoring by using Chinese police, and which is called internet police. Therefore, when we talk about the internet in China, we talk about a great firewall. Then what do people living in China think about this internet regulation? We actually have interviews with 5 Chinese people and asked them the following question. What do you think about these regulations in China? Here are 2 examples.
First person we interviewed is 24 years old. She doesn't care about the regulation of the internet because she thinks it is necessary to protect her country's culture and prevent political turmoil in China from developing. The second one is 20 years old. She doesn't agree with the regulation for 2 reasons. First, if you are under the regulation of the internet, you cannot understand specific topics which are well known around the world. And she worried about feeling left behind. Next, what she pointed out that SNS influences to us in many ways. And Adit said, it's sad that we cannot experience some things because of the regulation of the internet.
Well then, what is happening in China? Since the Tiananmen Square, China has continued to control freedom of expression. In this protest, 10,000 people gathered at the Tiananmen Square to demonstrate. And the PLAGF, People's Liberation Army Ground Force, suppressed the protest. It's taboo to talk about this incident because the armed operation was so radical at the time. Even now, it can no longer be searched on the internet in China. Even in Japan, Chinese people protested this year 2017 for freedom of expression.
In conclusion, originally we thought human rights in China were violated, especially freedom of expression. But through the interview, we learned that people in China don't have the same opinion on regulating internet. In Japan, we usually don't need to worry about these things. However, it's a big problem in China, which infringing upon human rights.
Lastly, we want to say that we need to reconsider the human rights. Today, each group talk about many human rights topics, and as you have already know, the world is a very diverse place, and that must be respected. We hope that wherever you are and wherever you go, that you think about diversity. Being different may not be bad. It can be very good thing. Thank you for listening, and special thanks to Alex and Maggie and Sel. Thank you for helping us.
Thank you, Team China, for your wonderful presentation on the freedom of expression and internet regulations. Mr. Suri, would you mind giving a comment on their presentation?
Sure. It was a fantastic presentation. I learned again about a situation I didn't know as much about as I thought I did. And I'm glad that you all went and you talked to Chinese people and you learned the other side of maybe what you didn't understand. And it's great that you came out of it with a very different perspective than you went in with, and that you recognized that, that you left your mind sort of flexible enough to understand that your preconceived notions may not be correct. I suspect that when many of you study abroad, you'll have the same experience. You'll go and you'll meet people and you'll look around and you'll say, oh, this wasn't what I thought it was going to be like. That said, I do want to talk just a minute about freedom of expression. I think that, again, this is one of the areas that the United States has been at the forefront of. You may have noticed following our election in November, there have been many, many protests in the United States, very large protests of hundreds of thousands of people in cities across the US, and those have been allowed to flourish, and those have been paid attention to and covered by the media, and any repercussion for those has been very, very, very minimal, and usually in very local circumstances in which it's not any national policy. So again, as you read about the United States and as you go to the countries you're going to, I again urge you to consider what we in the United States do on freedom of expression. That it's a very open place where you can say what you want on the internet, where you can protest what you want in the streets without fear of repercussion. And so just I wanted to mention that in passing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Suri.
Now, finally, let's move on to the next team, Team Europe. Please welcome Team Europe.
Members from our group will be studying abroad in the United Kingdom, France, and Belgium. Europe has a diverse society and has accepted many immigrants and refugees from Middle Eastern countries, such as Syria.
But because of recent events such as the rise of ISIS, Muslims have been greatly affected and have become perfect targets for hate crime incidents.
We focused on the incidents surrounding Muslims in Europe and how their human rights have been affected.
There have been many terrorist attacks in Europe, such as the Paris attack in France, Brussels bombing in Belgium, and the London attack in the United Kingdom, which are the countries that we will be studying in.
As everyone knows, Manchester in the UK was recently attacked by a leading Englishman, which took away many innocent lives.
Also, the Paris attacks in 2015 were terrible, which killed hundreds of lives.
But why do these terrorist attacks occur? The basic reason is because some extremists who want revenge for the areas that are carried out by the coalition of the willing.
These terrorist attacks have had serious consequences, such as restrictions on human rights.
For example, there have been restrictions on the freedom of the physical body, religion, expression, thought, traveling, and residence.
But these incidents haven't only affected people who were targeted by terrorism, but have also greatly affected the human rights of peaceful majority of Muslims. And this discrimination is called Islamophobia. Has anyone heard of Islamophobia?
Islamophobia refers to hatred, fear, and prejudice against Muslims, their culture, and religious beliefs. This word was used constantly around the world after 9/11.
Why has this way of thinking spread widely? One reason is a misunderstanding of cultural differences.
Another is caused by biased media, such as mainstream media using misleading headlines or reporting events from only one perspective and not introducing events equally.
Finally, the biggest reason is caused by stereotypical images of Muslims, which have been created by Islamic extremists.
There are mainly issues that have risen in the Western world that are connected to Islamophobia.
One of them is Donald J. Trump's Executive Order 13,769, or the so-called Muslim ban, which disallowed people from 7 Islamic countries from getting an USA visa. It is said that this order was done to find terrorists and to prevent terrorist attacks, but now it has been repealed due to lawsuits.
Another is the arson attacks on mosques, which have occurred many times these past couple of years. One of the biggest attacks took place in Kuwait 2 years ago and killed around 30 Muslims and injured more than 220 of them.
Also, there is France's hijab ban that prohibits Muslim women from wearing a hijab in public. Due to the Islamic extremists, some people have a bad impression of people hiding their faces, which led to their prohibition, and it had violated so many Muslim women's rights.
Fourthly, neo-Nazi groups in Germany, which are organizations that are made up of extreme racists and nationalists, have carried out severe killings of Muslims.
Lastly, a Quebec City mosque was attacked shortly after prayers began by a Canadian far-right gunman earlier this year. 6 Muslims were killed and 19 were injured. Such incidents targeting mosques and Muslims have been rising these past couple of years. So, the question is, what can we do to prevent and improve these situations?
There are mainly 5 ways to prevent these incidents.
Firstly, never be a bystander. Instead of just watching these incidents happen, We have to be brave to take an action and stand with the victims.
Secondly, put yourself in their shoes. Instead of giving up and trying to understand, step back and think of their circumstances and feeling.
Thirdly, watch out for incorrect information. There are so many ways to get information nowadays that we have to be careful not to be deceived by incorrect information.
Fourthly, raise public awareness on possible sources of bigotry and hate violence. Report hate-motivated incidents and crimes.
Lastly, set a good example by showing respect and understanding through actions, attitudes, and remarks.
There are many people who are already making an action as we mentioned earlier. For example, recently there was a shocking incident where two men that stood up for two Muslim women were killed by the attacker.
There are so many movements like these happening to reduce such incidents all around the world. We must be a part